ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa will today lay out the party's plans for the year when he delivers the January 8th statement in Limpopo. At least 2,000 delegates and party supporters are expected to attend the event.
Right, let's take you to the Old Peter Mokaba Stadium, where we find our senior politics reporter, Ziyanda Ngcobo, standing by. Ziyanda, very good morning to you. A hive of activity at the Peter Mokaba Stadium. What's the latest?
A very good morning to you, Buhle and Ticho. Well, I must tell you, it feels good to be inside the stadium finally after a 2-hour security check that held us up this morning. But thankfully, we're now inside the venue where we are starting to see, even though it's at a slow pace, delegates as well as senior members of the African National Congress making their way here in anticipation for the January 8th statement. But I'm going to talk to the head of organizing about whether or not we can actually expect the president to start on time, Nomvul Mokonyane, given how delayed we were just to try and get inside this venue and the heightened levels of security.
Good morning to your viewers, and thanks for inviting us on your platform. We have the program. There's going to be a number of cultural activities, followed by an interfaith prayer, and then we'll have messages of support. And after the messages of support, we'll have Comrade President presenting the January 8th statement on behalf of the NEC. Our target is to make sure that at exactly 11:30, the President will take to the podium.
I am in a privileged position because you are the head of organizing, and I cannot not ask you about what we've seen in the build-up to this day, when we start off with the Lilian Ngoyi lecture and the president having to be taken away because of a lack of COVID-19 compliance. A similar situation unfolded at the Peter Mokaba lecture yesterday, as well as at the gala dinner, where now we saw, a power cut taking place, ultimately cutting short the speech of the president. As the head of organizing, do you believe that you've had a handle on the arrangements for this particular event?
The reality is that over the past 2 years, there hasn't been any activity of a massive engagement as we normally have. And there has been an enthusiasm that we saw beyond the targeted numbers that we had. The Women's League had a program of blousing its members, as well as having the lecture on Lilian Ngoyi, the first president of the ANC Women's League. And the unfortunate thing was that then the hall had people that exceeded the number that was expected, which was 500. And precisely because we are conscious of the COVID conditions, that we then resolved that it would not be safe for the president to remain inside the hall. And we have agreed, together with the family, the leadership of the ANC Women's League, we will work on an appropriate date where the president will come in and do the lecture as it was intended. The same as it happened with Peter Mokaba. The Youth League had a very precise program working together with the Peter Mokaba ANC region. They had organized a particular number. But of course, because it is happening in the community where Peter grew up, and in a community where there hasn't been these kind of gatherings.
I do have to jump in there. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but actually what the ANC Youth League there was saying was that accreditation was given out along factional lines. The same, a similar kind of narrative emerged from the Lilian Ngoyi lecture to say, in fact, there's rumors that the reason why the hall was so packed and possibly why the president left was because there were going to be people who were going to be booing the president.
In fact, I wouldn't want to validate what I don't know. I'm responding on the basis of the plan. The Women's League had 350 of its members who were actually being bloused on that particular day. But there are other women and members of the community who also felt we want to be part. So there was no report of any booing. In fact, if you recall, when the president moved out of the venue, there was calm, there was quietness. Nobody actually reacted in what is perceived now and said to be what was going to happen. The same as with the Peter Mokaba, precisely because of the COVID conditions and the number. Remember, the Youth League event was also supposed to be at the same venue in Limpopo. We moved it to Jack Bottas. The Youth League came, made a proposal, it was agreed, and they indicated that they would also select the representatives, like we did with the Freedom Charter in Kliptown. There were delegates that came to that event. It is something that we need to now get used to as the African National Congress, that under these conditions, we may not just have masses coming in, there has to be representation. And I think this is what we must now as an organization say, how do we begin to organize under this new normal? What happened at the gala dinner, the Progressive Business Forum had organized, and they had the entire infrastructure. Then the energy supply, we were told, I was here at the stadium until I left now at 6:30, that there was just a trip, and as it tripped, then it interrupted the president's program. But what is of importance is that the enthusiasm around Polokwane, around Limpopo, is so huge. And you must remember, last year we could not celebrate. We were supposed to be here in Polokwane last year, and we could not come to Polokwane. And over these past few months of COVID, people have been suppressed from any mass gatherings. So it is that is also a contribution to what we are now going through. Now we have 2,000 comrades who are coming from structures of the ANC who will be coming in for today. And then we've got yourselves, members of the media, we've got our guests. But the biggest number of attendees will be those ones who will be sitting on this side as representatives of our structures of the ANC.
Just very lastly, I mean, this January 8th statement is going to be delivered against the backdrop amongst many things, but one of them, the State Capture Commission reports, the Part 1 having been released. You are someone who also went to go make representations before Acting Chief Justice Raymond Zondo. What message do you want the President to make about state capture reports, but also what has to take place now that it has finally been released, well, parts of it?
As the President has indicated, we welcome the release of the report. The President is as yet to present it before Parliament. Everybody, some of us have not even read what is in the report. Of course, I'm looking forward to getting the feedback.
Especially since you made presentations on Bosasa. Are you concerned at all about yourself?
I'm not concerned at all. I want this process to come and go, and it must not be a process that is going to be vindictive or subjective. It must be a process that helps to rebuild and even bring legitimacy to our justice system.
Thank you very much. Well, that's ANC's head of organizing, Nomvul Mokonyane, touching on, of course, the details and the logistics around planning this January 8th statement, and of course then the release of the first part of the State Capture Commission report, and of course herself having made representations before that commission.